الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Respectful honorable friends, brothers and sisters, the topic that has been mentioned over the last couple of days, which Allah wills need to wrap up today, in which those things had been mentioned which were a sign and indication of the pleasure of acquiring the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that whoever possessed these, that these qualities were an indication that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with this person. The first was from the hadith, مَن يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. Whoever Allah ta'ala intends good for, Allah ta'ala grants them the tafaqquh, the understanding of deen. And the second that had been mentioned was that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala frees a person's heart from this world, so that when the heart is freed from this world, then a person can focus on the development in acquiring closeness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the development in making the heart one that is liked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this entire month that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had granted us, the maqsad of it was such as well, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us this opportunity to carry out different forms of His ibadat. So we benefit from the various different ruhaniyat of the various different amal that we have done in the month of Ramadan. Each ibadat that we do has its own characteristic. Each ibadat that we do has its own different effect on a person's ruhaniyat as well. In the month of Ramadan, Allah Ta'ala gave us the opportunity of combining many different forms of His ibadat. But aside from that of the Hajj, majority of the other ibadat have been carried out in the month of Ramadan. A person becomes punctual upon their salat, so we're doing the salat as well. And then on top of that, the different effects of the nawafil is increased as well. Similarly, the farz, the effect of that. And then salat performed with jama'at, the effect of that is different as well. There is sawm. So there's the effect of the fasting, there is the sihri, the effect of the sihri, the iftari, the effect of the iftari as well. The effect of all the hunger and the thirst that a person undertook. And then a person in the month of Ramadan reads tilawat of the Quran. So there's the different effects of the tilawat of the Quran. There is nafal sadaqah as well. There is the wajib zakat as well. So the effects of the wajib zakat, the effect of the nafal sadaqah as well. This person does the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the effects of the adhkar of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where we do the ijtimai zikr, so the effect of the ijtimai zikr majlis, as well as the effect of the individual zikr that a person does. These are just to name a few of the ibadat that a person has done regularly throughout the month of Ramadan, whereas normal other days, a person may not be combining so many ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There may be those who have given sadaqah on a daily basis in the month of Ramadan as well, which on normal days we wouldn't be giving sadaqah on a daily basis. So in this way we have gathered within us the anwar of all these different ibadat. And this is something now that we come towards the end, that we need to ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sincerely ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that all the tajalliyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the favors of Allah ta'ala, all the barakat of the month of Ramadan, that although we are not worthy of it, but Allah ta'ala shower us with all the barakat of the month of Ramadan, all His mercy, all His forgiveness. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, throughout these final nights that we have, night or so that we have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all from those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala frees from the fire of Jannah. If as yet we have not been from those, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala overlook our wrongdoings and Allah ta'ala include us from those who He frees from the fire of Jahannam. And at the same time we need to make the azam as well, that not that we acquire that freedom in the month of Ramadan, in these nights. And then as soon as the month of Ramadan comes to an end, we make ourselves again mustahiq of the fire of Jahannam, mustahiq of the adhab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hoping, asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah ta'ala gives us istiqamat. Allah ta'ala gives us istiqamat, such istiqamat. As our Hazrat Rahmatullah Ali, Zashar Hazrat Rahmatullah Ali say, मैं जहाँ भी रहूँ जिस फिजा में रहूँ मेरा तौबा हमेशा बरकरार रहे, मेरा तौबा हमेशा कायम ही रहे. That wherever I live, wherever I go, wherever we are, whether it is the zaman, the time of Ramadan or not the month of Ramadan, that our tawbah should always remain intact. Our tawbah should remain intact. And in order for our tawbah to remain intact, Allah Ta'ala gave us this blessed month, that opportunity after opportunity. That how many times in the month of Ramadan a person felt to disobey Allah Ta'ala, commit a sin but didn't do so. Why? Because knowing it is a month of Ramadan. Many may want to have listened to music, do ghibat, do many other harams that a person may be habitual of. But remembering that it is a month of Ramadan, a person abstained from it. So we didn't abstain from it just once or twice. For X amount of days, 28, 29 days, a person abstained from it. In that we are getting that practice of staying away, or we got the practice of staying away from the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this, as I mentioned today in the afternoon Majlis as well, the things don't come so easy. There has to be a bit of effort and mujahada for it. We want deen to come into our lives without us making any effort and mujahada, my dear friends. We want deen to come so easily in our lives. We want things to be so simple and so easy for us, for deen to come into our lives. And one example, my dear friends, I mentioned, with regard to come to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we in the comforts, just because it might be raining outside, we might have felt that, look, let's be a bit lazy now and let's read salat at home today because of the what rain, it's just raining. We just couldn't get wet, that's all. So because there's some rain on top of us, for that we find it so difficult to get into our comfortable cars and get to the masjid, or walk home, even if you were to walk, knowing that when we come into the masjid, that there's going to be comfort in the masjid as well. There's going to be carpet in the masjid. There's going to be a comfortable environment for us in the masjid. That becomes so difficult for us. My dear friends, just imagine if we were now in the lands of Al-Quds, and we were faced with what they are facing there, just to get to Masjid Al-Aqsa. My dear friends, if we were there, we would say, forget the haram, forget Masjid Al-Aqsa, we're just going to stay at home. To that extent, we probably say, and walk in and take over, do what you want, we're just staying at home now. You're too afraid to get to the masjid because of the rain. There is always raining water there. It's raining bombshells and other things, grenades and what else is raining upon them. But they're still willing to get to the masjid. And it is because of this zeal and desire of theirs to get to the masjid, there are those who are trying to prevent them to get to the masjid. Why? Because we always mention, isn't it? We always talk about how clever or cunning or what the Yahud are. And they fully understand what is the core of Iman. They themselves know what will keep Muslims as Muslims. Although I've diverted totally from what I was mentioning, what the topic itself. And this is an example I mentioned to you before. Some years ago, one of the Imams of Masjid Aqsa, who whilst visiting the UK, was here, and he was here for Fajr Salat. And after Fajr, he gave a few words of nasihat and advice. In that one of his points that he mentioned, and this then came back to reminded me again the events that are occurring now. That we find year on and year out, this time of the year there's something or the other that goes on there. Upon whom? Just those people who are going to the masjid to perform their salat. One point he mentioned, my dear friends, and waqiyatan, truly, we need to take heed from this. He says that they notice so many times that the various gates of the masjid, there will be Israeli soldiers, and they would have counters with them. And they would count how many musallis are going for Fajr Salat. They would count actually how many musallis go in for Fajr Salat. For the other salats, that wouldn't be the case. For Fajr Salat, they would be counting how many go in for Fajr Salat. Other salats, they wouldn't be. So he himself mentions that he asked one of the guards, the soldiers, what's the reason behind specifically counting how many people are going for Fajr Salat. to which he said that this counting of hours keeps a check on the Muslims, meaning it gives us an idea of what position the Muslims are in. That as long as their count for Salat remains lower, for Fajr Salat remains like this, and remains lower than the count for Jummah Salat, we have nothing to worry about. The day the count for Fajr equals that of Jummah Salat, then we have something to worry about. That's when we then have something to worry about. Why? What did they look at? What they were counting. They knew, my dear friends, what is the alamat of Iman. They knew what is the sign of Iman. What is that that's going to keep the Iman alive of a mu'min. What is it in their lives that are going to keep them vibrant and keep them strong in the Iman and faith? What did they find? What did they pinpoint? And they pinpointed exactly what was correct, and that was, look, do they attend the masjid? Because that is a sign of the Iman. And that's exactly what Nabi Kareem mentions, Bashir al-Masha'een bi nur tama yawm al-qiyamah. That those who walk and go to the masjid, glad tidings for them with nur tama, with Iman, the acceptance of Iman on the day of Qiyamah. Nur tama refers to Iman. That they will be granted the nur of Iman on the day of Qiyamah because what? They practically showed that they have Iman in their hearts. And that was by what? By them frequenting the masjid. And that too, Bashil Mashahin, another riwayat, those who walk to the masjid for Isha, or Fajr as well, meaning in the darkness of the night. That because they walked in the darkness of the night to the masjid, in the past for them, that was an excuse as well, that it is night, they didn't have street lights and availability that we have. So for them it was difficult to get to the masjid when it would be dark at night time. But despite that, they would get to the masjid. This was alamat, indication and sign that the Iman is still vibrant. They're not lazy people. In our condition, in our situation, my dear friends, we all know that when we come towards the end of the month of Ramadan, so we become upset as well. We may become upset because of the various barakat of the month of Ramadan, or we may be becoming upset because of the loss and the lack of samosa kebabs and pakoris and that. Whatever reason, a person becomes upset. There might be those who are getting happy as well, that Eid's going to come and whatever else. Everybody's emotions are going to be different. But my dear friends, at the same time, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most upset felt will be the masjids. The masjids will just as much be thinking as well that what is it? What is it within me? What is wrong with me, or what is it within me? That when the month of Ramadan comes, I am full to capacity. Full to capacity. Every salat I am full. Every salat and in between salat as well have been kept occupied, abad throughout this 1 month. And then as soon as this month comes to an end, more than us weeping, my dear friends, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala weeps as that where are the occupants gone? Where have those who occupied been gone to? And we will see that change immediately when the Fajr of Eid Salah, the Eid day. Eid day, Fajr itself, we will see the difference already. In what? In other words, we can say, my dear friends, we see the true colors of Muslims. We see the true colors of Muslims. And what true color do you see? And this year we didn't need to wait for the Fajr of Eid Salat. Why? Because as it is on a normal day as well, we found especially in the early days of the month of Ramadan, when Fajr was a little bit later on, already there was a big difference. And when over these last few years, we did have the comfort of having Fajr Salat immediately after Taraweeh almost. The Sehri and 1:40 time was Fajr Salat. A time when people were still awake. Just had their Sehri, very easy to get to the masjid, read Salat with Jamaat and then go back home as well and get enough rest. The masjids during that time, in those years, were a lot fuller in Fajr than they have been this year. This is something that I have noticed as well. This year compared, especially the early day, now is getting a bit, again, towards the end because of the timing wise, which shows us that it was a matter of what was convenient for us. When it was convenient to us to get to the masjid due to our own convenience, and why, even now, why is the masjid so full in Fajr time? It's not because of the love for Fajr Salat, my dear friends. It is because of the love of our stomach. Putting it straightforward as well. It is a love for our stomach. Why? When Sahri, maybe 4 o'clock, for example, early days, 3:50 or so, and we went to sleep, we would go to sleep after the Taraweeh, and remember, people are going to be tired. First day Taraweeh as well, people are going to be very tired because they're not in that routine as yet. Second day as well, they're going to be tired. They went to sleep later than normal days, more tired than normal days, but still managed to wake up 3:30 in the morning. Still managed to wake up 3:30 in the morning. Let us ask ourselves, what did we wake up for? Did we wake up for Fajr Salat? We woke up for what? We woke up for Sahri. And when we wake up for Sahri, we didn't wake up for Sahri because it is Sunnah, so we want to make amal upon the Sunnah. We wake up for Sahri because, yes, we know we've got a long day fast ahead of us, so it's important that we eat something. So there's something in our bellies that can give us the strength for the remainder of the day. So we actually were able to, and we managed to wake up for the 3:30 or whatever time we slept and woke up again. Tired as well, we woke up for the sake of the Sahri, my dear friends. It just shows what level we are, where we are, my dear friends. We all included in this, that where we are, that there we were able to do so. And then maybe for some it was a case of convenience. We are awake. It's not long for Fajr Salat, so let's go to the masjid and perform our Salat as well. For some, maybe a genuine reason that it is difficult for them to wait the 10 minutes and then another 15 minutes or so for the actual Fajr itself and the Jamaat, everything, because of maybe how little time they may have, and they have to wake up in a very short period of time. There will be those who are genuinely have an excuse. Otherwise, it's more a case of convenience. That at 1:40 time was convenient for us, and to read Salat with Jamaat, go back and go sleep. It all fitted in nicely for us, so it was convenient. Now the Fajr is later, that is not convenient for us because it means too much late waiting, and then we're going to go to sleep, and before we long we have to wake up. It was not convenient for us. And the other shocking news is that on the day of Eid, Fajr is going to be 4:15. So we're not in the 7 o'clock timing. 6:30, 7 o'clock timing, 4:30, my dear friends. And Isha is going to be done. 10:30 will be Isha now. So 10:30 you're going to finish your Isha. You'll go to sleep. So you're not going to go to sleep as late as you do in the month of Ramadan because there's no Taraweeh Salah. So we have extra time, more time to sleep. And we may not be so physically tired as well. But then see how difficult that 4:15 is going to become for us. Very difficult it's going to become for us. On the day of Eid, maybe because there's still that bit of Ramadan vibe, we might just manage to get there. But then after the 2nd of Shawwal, 3rd of Shawwal, 4th of Shawwal, and that's it, we'll see ourselves, my dear friends, what our condition becomes. How difficult that 4:15 will become for us. That's why Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions in the hadith as well, that if people knew what the reward was for Salat, for Isha and Fajr Salat, لَأَتَيْتُهُ وَلَوْ حَبْوًا, they would come to the masjid, even if it meant that they would have to drag themselves on their buttocks, they would drag themselves to the masjid if they knew what the reward was for Salat with Jamaat. And also Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam also mentions that if the hooves of a calf, another riwayat is mentioned with the arrows, if these are meaning something of material, if gifts of material were given out to people who came to the masjid, then everybody would be there in the masjid, people would come to the masjid. Because that would be convenient for us, because we're going to get something for coming to the masjid. My dear friends, this just shows us, and as I mentioned with regards to the situation there in Palestine, that how those people, the occupiers there, understood this. That we need to look at this and gauge the level of the iman of the believers on what? Not when they throw bricks at Masjid al-Aqsa, and then see the uproar, and then see the level of the iman of the believers. No. There when we scratch it, every dog is going to bark, isn't it? Like when Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam, what does it take? It takes somebody to insult Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam for the love of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam to come alive in us. And then when that is over, then where is our love for Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Do we think that they do not know? They can see all these things. That after that, where is our love? Even this is something that is still needs to be there, alhamdulillah, that is still good, that is there at least in the ummah. But away from that, when the test is there, then where is our love for Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam? Where is our obedience to Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam? So they know that when now things are going to be thrown to the masjid, then there will be uproar. But they know as well the uproar will come and go. They know it will just come and die away. Matter of few days and that will die down. Matter of few days and that will then die down. Something else will come about. People become preoccupied in something else. And then that will be forgotten. These are things that the world knows. People know of these things, my dear friends. They know the state of the iman of believers. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see from us and what is that which will be the greatest obstacle for them is that if a mu'min remains a mu'min the entire life, who become punctual the entire lives. And as long as people see, and as long as we as a community, we ourselves see, just the elderly people who are those who are frequenting the masjid and keeping the masjid abad, then we have to worry about our future generation. But if we were to see that it is the youth who are the ones who are keeping the masjid abad, who are frequenting the masjid on a regular basis. Why? Because they are the ones who are healthy of the two. They are the ones for whom it is easier to get to the masjid. And if even for those who it's easy to get to the masjid can't get to the masjid, or are not getting to the masjid, then there is concern for us, my dear friends. There is concern for us. Let us not be from those, my dear friends. Last year, the month of Ramadan, the masjid was shut as it is. So we didn't get to see the once a year musallis in the masjid. It was now after 2 years. And on the day of Eid, alhamdulillah, now we passed the lockdowns, inshallah, there won't be any more lockdowns. So the masjids are going to remain open. But it is up to us. The masjids can remain open, they've always remained open. But it is whether we want to keep ourselves open or we want to put ourselves under lockdown. It is we who put ourselves under lockdown, and we are the ones who lock ourselves down and not come to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, my dear friends, this is the place wherein if we want the mercy and rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open upon us, we can't be locking ourselves from the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the place where Allah ta'ala's favors, Allah ta'ala's rahmat descends, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a sign of a love that a person has, and this is what they have understood. By do mu'min, do they really have love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not? Because when a person loves somebody, you love the house of that person as well. That's the way Majnun loved what? The house of Allah, house of his Layla. And he loved that so much. Why? It wasn't the case of the love that he had for the house, but he says the love for the one who lives there. وَمَا هُبُّ الدِّيَارِ شَغَفْتَ قَلْبِي وَلَكِنْ هُبُّ مَنْ سَكَنَ الدِّيَارِ مررت بالديار ديار ليلى فأقبل هذا الجدار وذاك الجدار. Majnun will say what? That I walk through the gullies of the streets of Layla and I kiss this wall and that wall. And it is, what does he say? It is not the love of the soil, the mortar and the cement and the bricks that occupies my heart. And neither is it the love of the house that occupies my heart, but it is the love of the one who resides in the heart. So for that, Majnun had what? Love for the house of Layla as well, knowing that his beloved is the one who resides there. An ashiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a person who has qurb with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has to love the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has to love the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Without loving the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the more you love somebody, what do you want? You want to visit them frequently. You want to be with them. We cannot be directly with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we can visit the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained the 5 first salat upon us, spread out throughout the day. So frequently we can visit the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and get the ruhani satisfaction of that closeness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If it was just the salat in the morning and we just went to the masjid, did the fajr salah and that's it, nothing else till the following morning or nothing else till isha, nothing in between, the true ashiqeen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would go insane. They would go insane. They wouldn't be able to manage to wait till the evening. Sayyidina Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha, on one occasion at night after Isha, she starts the tahajjud salah, making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reading her salah, and before she knows, she hears the azan of Fajr. What does she say? Oh Allah, the night is too short. Oh Allah, the night is too short. Meaning that it was too short. The enjoyment of it was so much that I wanted more, that the night was too short. The Ashiqeen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not cope with just having Fajr and nothing in between till Isha. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept that into consideration. And then there is the salat throughout the day. So frequently. And that too also in such a manner so that there is a break off as well with that eagerness to come back to the masjid again. You leave again with the eagerness to get back to the masjid. And because it is also the eagerness remains there. The eagerness remains there. And when the eagerness remains there, you will enjoy it each time that you come. And because the Ashiqeen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do not like to leave the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so the Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa mentions that whoever is waiting in salat gets the reward of salat as well. So their condition is that each time they leave salat, the masjid, they're waiting to come back again because they've already got in plans that when they're going to be back again. They already look on the way out at what time is the next salat. They leave Asr and they know that it's going to be very tight to get back for Maghrib salat. So best is what to sit in the masjid and stay in the masjid. And this as well, staying in the masjid, my dear friends. When it comes to punctuality on some of the ma'mulat, a lot of people have this concern that in the month of Ramadan we start reading the Quran, we take our time and we are managing to read the Quran. But then afterwards, after the month of Ramadan, we do not have the time, or we're not punctual. Modern time is a case of punctuality. The biggest thing that we have is punctuality, like Salatul Jamaat as well. There'll be like sort of certain days we become punctual, and then after that we're not punctual, and then we become punctual. But istiqamat is the most important thing. And that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see from a believer. And this is what I mentioned to you. A believer, for him, there is no holiday from the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is still the day we leave from this world. Istiqamat is what Allah ta'ala wants to see from us. With regards to this, being punctual on the Quran, if we were to fix a time, that daily, every day, that is our fixed time to read the Quran, we will be able to read the Quran. And if we feel that because we are at work, and then when we are at home, there's other things to do at home, and because of being occupied at home, we are unable to read the Quran. If you sit with the Quran, there is this or there is that, there's always something or the other. But the best is fix a time, 10 minutes or 15 minutes of time, fix that time for the masjid. Meaning that you're going to stay after Asr for 15 minutes. Or you're going to come for 15 minutes before Maghrib Salah, depending on the season. Or you're going to come 15 minutes before Isha Salat also. If a person wants to just fix that time, a period of time, that's it, that period of time I'm fixing for what to be in the masjid. And now you're going to be in the masjid, you're not going to get any disturbance. Where now somebody is going to tell you do this, do that, or there's something else to look for, or you get occupied elsewhere. Fix a period of time to be in the masjid, and in that you're guaranteed to get the tilawat of the Quran as well. Because nobody will be there to disturb you then. So you will get that opportunity to get your tilawat done as well, to do the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a regular basis. That is how much benefit a person gets if they have this attachment with the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my dear friends. But this topic came in between. Allah ta'ala grant us all the understanding of this. It's something that we do mention on a regular basis. Every year we do mention this as well. But unfortunately, not every one of us takes heed, or not everyone gets hidayat for it. These are the opportunity where we ourselves should turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we know where we are lacking in, where we are weak in, that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, rectify these things, give me the tawfiq, allow this to come into my life. And nothing comes easily, my dear friends. There is mujahada for everything. It's not a case of Fajr is just going to become easy. Going to the masjid is going to become easy. Performing salat is going to become easy. Abstaining from disobedience of Allah is going to become easy. It's not going to become easy. It is something that we're going to have to do for a period of time for it to become regular in our lives. It is something that we're going to have to be doing. All the qualities that we mentioned of khushu in salat, do bayan kete, one is outstanding. All those things that we mentioned, these things are not just going to come just that way. It's something that we need to bring about practice. We're going to keep on practicing, just like so many other things in our lives. That it is after great practice that it becomes something that we become habitual of. Deen is the same. And to the extent that there will be a period of time wherein we have to do it in such a manner that we are struggling to get it done, but then eventual time will come when it will become a habit within us. And then without even realizing, we'll just be doing it. Even though we might be void of any ruhaniyat, but at least it becomes a habit and we'll be doing it as a habit. And then gradually, that habit will then become our second nature, you see. It will become our Tarbiyah. That without that, then we will not feel good at all. Without that, we won't feel good. That if we do miss our Fajr Salat with Jamaat, that's it, the whole day of ours, we do not feel good at all because we missed out on something. Any Salat is good, our tilawat has been missed. Unless there's a valid reason, that is a different matter. So let us bring these things in our lives, my dear friends, and istiqamat in our lives. But I'll to finish the topic that I had begun on. The third was where an indication that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that a person is acquiring the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that Allah ta'ala takes that person's gazes away from the faults of others and is able to focus on his own faults. Why this, my dear friends? What is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves in us? As the hadith of Nabi Karim mentions, إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى لَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَى صُورِكُمْ وَلَا إِلَى أَجْسَامِكُمْ وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَى قُلُوبِكُمْ. Allah Ta'ala does not look towards our physical appearances. Allah Ta'ala looks towards our heart. This is one hadith. And elsewhere another hadith, Nabi Karim mentions that in the body, أَلَا إِنَّ فِي الْجَسَدِ لَمُضْغَةً إِذَا صَلَحَتْ صَلَحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ وَإِذَا فَسَدَتْ فَسَدَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. Allah وَهِي الْقَلْبُ. That there is a heart, an organ in the body. If that is rectified, everything is rectified. If that is corrupt, then everything is corrupt. And that is what the heart. So this hadith as well, Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions with regard to the heart. And the other hadith as well, Nabi Karim mentions what Allah Ta'ala looks towards what? Allah Ta'ala looks towards the heart of a person. I mean, Allah Ta'ala does not look who looks beautiful. What are the color of a person's eyes? What are the color of their hair? What is the color of their skin? Allah Ta'ala doesn't look at that. How is their physical structure? How they are built in that form? They fit healthy, muscular, athletic or whatever. Allah Ta'ala doesn't look at any of these things. Those do not interest Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَى قُلُوبِكُمْ. What Allah Ta'ala looks towards is the heart of a believer. That is that heart pure or not? Is that heart clean or not? Does that heart possess good qualities or not? That is what Allah Ta'ala looks at. For that, what we need to do is, we need to clean the heart. As we will say, clean your own house first. We have to clean our house first. We have to clean our heart. For the tajalli of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enter into our hearts, we need to clean our hearts. But if we are more worried about the dirt and the mess of other people's house, we're not going to get the chance and the opportunity to clean our own house. Just with the dunya wise, if our hearts are so occupied with dunya, there is no time for us to occupy it in the remembrance of Allah. If we are so occupied in the faults of others, my dear friends, we're not going to get the opportunity to rectify ourselves. How can we rectify ourselves when we do not even know what our faults are? Isn't it? When we don't even know what our own faults are, how are we going to rectify those, my dear friends? It's like maybe these days, or now alhamdulillah things are a lot better, but when the COVID issue and NHS was overwhelmed, there will be those who are working in the hospitals, nurses and doctors and them, who themselves may be ill or suffering from something, but what they would say, we are so occupied with the other patients that we never even realize about our own well-being. So occupied with the patients, we never even worried or got a chance to think about ourselves. Isn't it? And then they realize that they are suffering, they are ill or whatever the case. Here the same as well, my dear friends. We're so occupied about this person is doing this, that person is doing that, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's involved in this and that and that. And each person looking at the faults of others, that we have no time to look at our opportunity to look at our own faults. And until we do not look at our own faults, we're not going to get them rectified either. We're not going to rectify because we don't see any faults within us, isn't it? We don't see the faults in us. We may see the other person, but your nose is bleeding. But because we can't see the nose, the bleeding under our nose, we think that we are fine, but we can't see that until somebody tells us, look, or we stand in front of a mirror. Somebody tells us that, look, your nose is bleeding as well. So we're so concerned about the nosebleeds of others that we forget about our own. And until that is the case, we're not going to get the opportunity to rectify ourselves. And each person sit on your own, make muhasabah of your own, and we all know. I'm talking about the jealousy of that person. Why is he always jealous with so-and-so and that person, that person? But do we think about ourselves? Why is it that I'm always jealous with so-and-so as well? Isn't it? Why is he always arrogant with so-and-so? Or why is that person so arrogant? But do we ever think, why am I always so arrogant for? Why does he have so much pride? Do you not think, why do I always have so much pride within me? Why is he always doing this? Why is it I'm also doing this and that? If he's involved in one sin, we are involved in so many other sins. We see his one fault, but we can't see our 10 faults are within us. We occupy ourselves so much in that. And these are those things that deprive us, my dear friends. On one occasion, somebody came to Bayezid Bustami Rahmatullah Ali. 59. One person came to Bayezid Bustami Rahmatullah Ali and ended this, inshallah. And said to him, I said, make dua for me. I have sinned. Make dua, Allah accepts my tawbah. I have committed major sins. I have committed major sins. Make dua for me. Bayezid Bustami Rahmatullah said, I'll make dua for you and you make tawbah as well. And then he asked him, what sin did you commit? He was one to one. To which he said, I committed zina. He said, I committed zina. To which Bayezid Bustami Rahmatullah said, when you came to me, I thought that you want to repent because you have done what? That you have made a ghibat. I thought you have made a ghibat. Indicating what? That here when a person commits zina, that person came to him that, look, make tawbah for me that I have committed this major sin. But in mentioning to him that, look, al-ghibatu ashaddu min az-zina. Ghibat, Nabi Kareem mentioned that ghibat is worse than zina. But for that, never do we go to any person that make dua, tawbah, I need to make tawbah, or do we even think that, look, I need to make tawbah for the ghibat that I have committed. Zina, you know that zina is no go. And if you have now, is something to be very concerned, worried about. And here ghibat, day and night. But never do we think that I need to make tawbah upon it. Whereas the difference here is, zina a person will do, he'll do it in seclusion. And he'll feel shame upon it. But the ghibat, we do that openly. We don't feel shame upon it. We don't even feel or regard it to be severe. And it is something that we do day and night. And the ghibat that we do is what? The ghibat that we do is that we're talking about the faults of people, we're talking ill about people, which is our favorite pastime. So there's these type of things that are so major that we are involved in, but never at all did our mind even go towards it that yes, I too have that habit. Whether it is the verbal ghibat that we do, or whether it is the typed ghibat that we do. Because now the means of ghibat have opened up even more for us, isn't it? Either the case where we actually physically sit and talk about somebody in such a manner, or the other is we start doing ghibat in our groups, in our chats, in our friends in that. That he was a this, he's a this, he's a this and that. And we don't even regard it to be anything. Normal, usual. Normal, usual. Somebody will mention some, just the way the fuqaha mentioned, ghibat is what? That you look at somebody and you make some ishara and something against him, that is also ghibat. You hint at somebody something, that is also ghibat. And ours is, somebody might say, he said this or something or the other, and then what some of the emojis that a person sends, that is also ghibat of that person. If that is now against that individual, that is also making the ghibat of that person. But that is fine, we just press, don't even think the amount of ghibat that we have done. But my dear friends, this was in brief the third thing that I mentioned. So whoever Allah Ta'ala grants the understanding of deen, whoever Allah Ta'ala frees their heart from the world, and whoever Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala frees from looking at the faults of others, these are indication that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala intends good for this person. His qismat, his fortunes will change and betterment will come in his way. Allah Ta'ala grant all these qualities within us, make us all according to how Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala wants us to be. Allah Ta'ala grant us all His qurb khassa, wilayat khassa, ma'ayyat khassa, and grant us all the maqam of awliya siddiqeen. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.